Morning.
Good morning. How's the new year treating you, Mike?
Morning, Wendy.
Good morning. How are you?
Now I guess I've got my I've got it turned up. Oh, there's Jenny. Wow. So Wendy, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
Well, the picture behind me shows where I'd much rather be. That's what yesterday was.
What was yesterday was the same thing or something different?
No, yesterday was sunny.
Oh, yes.
You were probably stuck inside, so you don't know that.
Right. Yeah, I was stuck inside all day, but I hear this weekend's supposed to be nice, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, people keep telling me we're heading for a little bit of cold weather for a while, so we'll see whether or not that's true.
I don't mind the cold if it's sunny.
Yeah.
I prefer it to the rain. I left some egg cartons with Trish to give to you. Did you get them?
I did. Thank you very
Over
much.
lunch. Yes. Yeah. I thought someone I know must have, chickens and eggs, and Jenny
Somebody
used
out
to.
there. Yeah.
Jenny, what happened to your chickens?
Yeah, I've gone to I'm a minimalist at heart, and I've really just embraced that again. So no more chickens, no more pets, none of that. I can leave in a heartbeat, don't have to take care of stuff. So yeah.
You should, one day I was walking past Jenny's office and she's got her on her phone. She could see her chickens. She had a chicken cam.
Yeah. I was getting obsessive about who was laying eggs and who wasn't. So I installed the chicken cam and went through and saw who was laying and when they were laying. It's really neat, actually, the science of chicken and egg laying, right? So as they start laying, the eggs are small and they lay on a 23 to 24 hour cycle. And then as they get older, the eggs get bigger and they get further apart. And I found out who wasn't laying, and then I didn't do anything about it anyhow, because I didn't have the heart to, So yeah, funny thing.
Jenny, that's the first I've ever heard. I mean,
I
and
know.
I'm thinking of getting chickens out where I am now. And I don't know, I'm not going to get a camera for my chickens.
No, everyone thought it was pretty ridiculous for sure, but it was fascinating. And because we named them, and it became, there's not a lot going on in my life, obviously, if I have that much time to watch and track my chickens. So
well, I found it pretty interesting. Yeah.
It gets boring. The conversations are pretty limited.
how many chickens do you have, Mike?
I think a couple dozen, but I'm not exactly sure, because there's various ages of hens, and every so often one of them will just decide they've had enough, and they just die.
Mike,
So,
are you in the regional district or are you in town? The city? You're not in the city.
I am in the city, yeah, but this is one of those grandfathered things. I don't know if you were on council or not at the time, but back in the midst of time, we were zoned agricultural, and so we were allowed all of these things. And then one Monday, I got a call from Ken Watson saying, well, we've rezoned your property from agricultural to residential, but we accidentally made a mistake and zoned it parkland. So the deal is, you, as long as you keep the original, keep using it the way it was originally intended, you can keep doing that. But you can't, if you ever sell it, nobody can do the same thing. So we've just never stopped. We, have all those little idiosyncrasies that go with the original agricultural permitting.
Right on. I know I was only there when we changed the bylaws regarding how many chickens you can have in the city.
Yeah.
When back in the day, it was that big hoopla going on about animals.
Yeah. Well, we have 3.5 acres and we really have no neighbors. So it's not like there's anybody around to complain.
Where do you live?
I live on Southgate, right, and our property goes from Southgate down to Roger Creek, and it ends at the railway trestle there. So it's a great spot. We've been there for over 40 years, and it's over the years we've had horses and sheep and goats and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you're way in the back there too, so I mean, it's not like you're in the middle.
No, we're not in the middle of in a subdivision or anything, not a traditional subdivision. We do have great neighbors across the road, across the street from us. And, most of the people in our little triangle have been there for decades, long enough so that the kids have grown up and moved away and started families of their own. So there aren't a lot of children in the neighborhood when there used to be. And I had a conversation with a guy from Langford yesterday and was shocked when he said that he and his wife had 6 children, because that to me seems like a huge family. But certainly when we were growing up, it wasn't a huge family. It was just, an average sized family, I think, was about 4 or 5 kids.
I agree with you. We had 6 sisters and brothers, but yeah, I would totally agree. 6 kids. Yeah. Yep.
Need a big house for that.
Great. So I'm going to be, I'm Wendy Thompson, the General Manager of Administrative Services with the Regional District. And because it's election of chair, I call the meeting to order. I'm just waiting to make sure we have enough committee members present. I think we do. Michael Hoff is supposed to be joining us. I don't know what's going on right now, though. Is everyone seeing a strange screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm froze up.
Mine froze up too.
I just had a Zoom update too, so Zoom has just changed.
Okay.
Something is definitely going on because I am now completely frozen up. So just bear with us for a few minutes, please.
Okay. That worked.
Yeah.
I think Wendy's gone to get some IT help.
But we seem to be okay at this point.
That was musical.
Is that the guy from the beach? Hi, Wilfred.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Okay, so is everything back to normal? It looks like it is. Sorry, my screen froze and everything went jumbled. Great. So I will, as mentioned, my name is Wendy Thompson, General Manager of Administrative Services for the Regional District. And this is the first meeting of this committee this year, an election of chair. So therefore, I call it to order and conduct elections. So I'd like to call to order the Alberni Valley Regional Airport Advisory Committee meeting for Thursday, January 19th. And recognizing that we are holding our meeting throughout the New Channel traditional territories, as we're all coming from different areas. I just want to let the attendees know that this meeting is live streamed, recorded and live streamed to our website. So now I'll just give a quick overview of the process for election of chair for 2023 for this committee. Because we're all participating by Zoom, if there is an election, I will get everyone to email me their vote, and then I'll get another staff member to sit with me to count and report who the chair is for 2023. Great. So if there's no questions, I will get started. I will call for nominations for chairperson of the Alberni Valley Regional Airport Advisory Committee for 2023, a first time.
I'll nominate Mike.
Mike, do you accept the nomination?
Oh, sure.
Great.
Yes, I would. I'd be delighted to do it.
Perfect. And I'll call for nominations for chairperson of the AV Regional Airport Advisory Committee for 2023, a second time. Okay, and I will call for nominations a third time. All right, there being no further nominations, I am pleased to hand the meeting over to our chairperson, Mike Rattan. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Wendy, and I appreciate the endorsement from the committee and the support. That's fantastic. We have a number of people, and I'm just wondering if maybe we could just do a quick whip around and just have everybody reintroduce themselves so that we know who we are and who we're representing. And in fact, when I was going through the terms of reference, trying to figure out who I actually represent, even though I've been on the committee for since the beginning, I think I'm a member at large. I think that's what I am.
Yes, that's correct. You're a member at large from the Alberni Valley.
Okay. So with turning it over to Cindy, introduce yourself and who are you representing, Cindy?
Thank you, Mike, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Cindy Solda, I'm a city councillor, been there since like 2002 and with a 4-year term off. So I've gone through 7 elections. I have been the chair for the airport, and I have been pretty well close to conception on the airport committee back in the days. Thank you.
Thank you. And Wilfred?
Good morning, everyone. Congratulations, Mr. Chair. I would like to start off and let everyone know that I'm joining you from the unceded traditional territories of the Shuswap and Huipachesset peoples. My name is Wilfred Coots. I represent the Chuckles Tribe government.
Thank you. And Penny?
Thank you, Mike. Congratulations. I'm sure we're going to have another great year. My name's Penny Cody. I am on the ACRD, the Electoral Area Director for Sprout Lake. I've been here since 2005. It is my 7th term also. The airport, the Alberni Valley Airport, is within the borders of the Sprout Lake electoral area. I have a lot of conversations with residents and look forward to this. And I also am on the unceded traditional territories of the Shuswap and Huipachesset. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan? Dan Savard.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Great. I thought you said Bev. Sorry. Congrats, Mike, on your appointment. Listen, so Dan Savard, I'm been on the board here, I guess, for about 3 years. I've been an appointee by the Chamber of Commerce, but I'm no longer a director of the Chamber of Commerce, so I'm a little bit unsure how I'm here, maybe as a member at large today. But yeah, that's a bit about myself. I'm a real estate agent in town. I also own the Swept Away Inn on the waterfront.
Okay, thank you. Mark Fortune.
Mr. Chair, yeah, Mark Fortune, Airport Manager for the Alberni-Clackett Regional District, looking after Tofino and Port Alberni.
Thank you. And Jenny Brown, the ex-chicken owner.
Yes. So I'm Jenny Brown. I'm the General Manager of Community Services for the ACRD.
Thank you. And Harley, nice to see you.
Oh, hello. My screen has froze up. I have one full screen picture of the lady that was speaking at first. And am I moving, or is my face frozen too?
Your face is frozen.
Okay. My name is Harley Wiley. I'm a council member for Sishat First Nation. And thank you, Wilfred and others, for recognizing the location of the traditional territories of the local First Nations. I'm standing in for Natasha Marshall-Gallick. She's finishing up her master's degree in finance, so she's asked some council members to take over some of her roles for her. And with me, I'm serving my first term on Sishat Council. And as Mike remembers, he was mayor when I first moved back to Port Alberni after 47 years. So I'm not quite a new kid in town. I've been here before, and it's nice to be back, and look forward to working with you folks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Michael Hoff.
Hi there. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Hoff. I am a member at large for Area D representing Sprout Lake. Reasonably new to the committee, to the community. Moved here in 2018. I'm on the lake on Bishop, and I'm an airline captain with lots of experience with aviation, and also as a member of the executive board for the Air Canada Pilots Association. Also now a training captain on the 777, and I've done 2 terms on this committee.
Thank you. And Stephen Jones. Maybe turn your camera on, Stephen. There we go. Thank you.
Here we go. Good morning. Congrats, Mike.
Thank you.
I'm Stephen Jones, born and raised in Port Alberni. I've been in aviation most of my life. I guess Mike was actually my principal a while ago now. I currently work for Sunwing Airlines. I moved away from Port Alberni for a little while. Now I'm back, and I just wanted to hopefully help share a little bit of insight on what users might be able to benefit from seeing the airport go forward. And I just look forward to the experience. New on the committee, and look forward to it.
Thank you. Carrie.
Hey everyone. I'm here at the Alberta-Claycourt Regional District, and I'm just helping on administrative sense here, running the Zoom and taking minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And Janice Hill, you're there somewhere?
Yep, I'm here as well, just assisting Carrie this time, and then I'll stay on for the in-camera portion of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Brandy, are you there? Brandy Lauder?
I am. I'm elected Chief Counselor Brandy Lauder for the Hoopetchesset First Nation.
Thank you. And Michael McGregor.
I'm Michael McGregor, Lands and Resources Coordinator with the ACRD.
That's a famous name in Port Alberni, you know, Michael McGregor.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. A good one or a bad one?
No, very good. Yeah, M&D Auto Parts. He's the M of M&D, but he's retired.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. It's just good to get that perspective and just know who is participating in our meeting. Just to start, as Wilfred and Harley have said, as well as Penny, we are doing our business today on the traditional unceded territory of the Hoopetchesset and Sishat First Nations. So I want to make sure that we've just got that in the record. We do have an agenda for our regular meeting, and it's in front of us. There are a number of items. There's a request for a decision. There's several requests for decisions and some reports, as well as a question period. And then we have a piece for in camera. And before we move to the agenda, the actual business part of the agenda, we have minutes from our last meeting which was held on March the 24th, 2022. So if we look at the terms of reference, we can see that we're trying to hit meetings quarterly, and we didn't do that last year. So what I need is a motion to approve the minutes from March 24th, 2022, please. Somebody like to make that motion? Penny, thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Cindy. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion's carried. Thank you.
Mike, also, sorry to interrupt, if you don't mind getting a motion for approval of the agenda as well. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you. That wasn't on my list. Okay, motion to approve the agenda. Thank you, Cindy. And second by Penny. Thank you. Anybody opposed? All right, then I declare the motion carried. Just a little bit of context. We did have our major event last year, which was the open house. And that was a tremendous amount of work on the part of the Flying Club. And it was a pleasure, certainly for me, to work with the Flying Club on putting that all together. And I hope that some of you were able to make it to that day, because it was certainly well attended by various people in the community. Weather was absolutely perfect, and I learned an awful lot about the airport and what the Flying Club does, and various groups and individuals that use our airport. It was a fantastic day for me. So let's just moving on. We've approved the minutes. We do have a request for a decision, and that's for our committee terms of reference. And I made a brief mention of it earlier. So I'm wondering, Jenny, is it possible for you just to outline for the committee what the proposed changes are to the terms of reference, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. So we, one of the things that kicked this off, because we are looking to do changes, we always review the terms of reference at the beginning, at the first meeting of a year for every single committee. So we'd be reviewing this anyhow, but because the representative for the city of Port Alberni was not reelected and the city proposed Cindy Solda as the representative for the city, we took this to the board first. And we also were looking, because technically we are supposed to go to the Alberni Valley and Banfield Services Committee and then the board. That is the reporting structure, or has been, for this committee. This becomes very bureaucratic and slows down the process, because the AVB committee only meets quarterly, and the same members that are on the AVB are also on the board. And so we recommended, because we don't really see a lot of value in having this committee meet, report to the AVB, and then report to the board. And in specifically for the terms of reference, it was going to slow things down. And so we asked the board if they were comfortable with us just having this committee report directly to the board. They said that was fine. And we said we would come back to the committee to confirm that you guys are good with that, and we'll make the amendments at this meeting. So we're recommending that that change be made, and we've modified the terms of reference that are attached so that the reporting structure just goes direct to the board. We also recommended that at that meeting that Cindy Solda be the representative, which was passed. So that's why Cindy is our representative. She sits here, she has voting privilege. And then we were looking at vacancies, and we had said that we would go out to advertise. But I also wanted to note that I believe Michael Hoff is willing to sit for reappointment, which the terms of reference will allow. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of feedback here. Are you guys also getting feedback?
Sorry, it's like an echo of some sort.
Yeah, I think if we can just make sure everyone's muted, that might help. Good. Okay. Is that better? Great. Sorry, folks. Anyhow, so those were the recommendations. So we are requesting from staff that the terms of reference, so the amended terms of reference that we've attached, we're recommending that. And I think just generally speaking, it was great that Chair has asked for everyone to go around and do a roundtable. I think that we might, for simplicity, just ask for the committee to approve reappointment of current committee members. And then later in the year, we'll do an assessment and probably come back to the committee to talk more about terms and make sure everyone is okay with the 2-year term. Because I think in the past, my understanding is, and I wasn't on the committee, that there was intent to have some people change at different frequencies, but it can become quite complicated and difficult to track from a staff perspective and maybe not have a lot of value. So if we can reappoint the current sitting members on the committee, that would be valuable. And then we can move forward with the group that is listed.
So Jenny, are you saying you want the first motion, then you want a second motion to reappoint everybody? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, please.
Or do you want just that included in the first motion?
I think either is fine. Yeah, so all together would be good. The one thing I would note, so Dan, you said you're no longer on the chamber, but if you're willing to still sit this year, we could accommodate that and then just still ask the chamber to appoint a member.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. Good. So one motion altogether to approve the terms of reference and reappointment of everyone here today.
So moved.
I'm sorry, who was that?
It was Wilfred, sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Wilfred. Is there a seconder? Cindy, thank you. Anybody opposed? Then I declare the motion carried. Just quickly point out that that is a time saver for staff of they estimate 25 to 30 hours by being able to report directly to the board. Okay, a second request for decision. The airport's project coordination of resources. So Jenny, is that going to be you that explains that, or is that going to be Mark?
I'll do my best, and we'll see if Mark wants to jump in at the end.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we, yeah, there's a lot of components with this one in particular. One of the things I will say is that, as mentioned, we had the airport open house in this last year, the grand opening. I thought that went really well. That was led by the committee, and I think that was great. However, from the strategic plan, there was a number of initiatives that we had put together, and in the report I had pulled out that list and put it there, and we sort of had come up with a plan that we would achieve a lot of these objectives. We don't and didn't at the time have a lot of staff resources, and so we talked about setting up a subcommittee of this group to help move some of those forward, road signage and signage at the terminal. We haven't seen movement on that. I believe that, and that's fine. I think that having a staff member take responsibility for those things and move them forward might be the most successful strategy for achieving those. We also have a number of other initiatives that will have to be staff-led, and those are getting delayed. A lot of it comes down to just capacity. So within community services, we're responsible for the 2 airports within the airport service, solid waste, water, transit, a number of things, and we have a staff pool that we use. And the way that we allocate resources is we do it by service based on the hours that are allocated to the service. So this is specifically in community services at both airports. We're finding that we are lacking staff resources. So we did a big deep dive into that to look at, okay, there's a lot of things happening. Like at AVRA, I know that there's initiatives that the committee wants to achieve and that we've identified are important, but they're not moving forward. At the Long Beach Airport, and I mention this because it is relevant, there is a huge amount of pressure on development and just a very long list of things. And so we looked at that. We went to the West Coast Committee to talk about the Long Beach Airport and its resource needs before the end of the year. And the big thing there is we actually need a master planning document. So we've created that for this now, which is great because it gives direction on what is the airport service, what are we supposed to be focusing on, and we have an action list. And the big first step for the Long Beach Airport will be to get that document. So the committee supported us going for a 2-year term for an airport projects coordinator. And we did discuss the fact that we thought that there would be there are resource needs here too that might want to access that position, but they approved a full-time position. And if the committee does not choose to add more resources for AVRA, that's okay, because we can use all of them for the Long Beach Airport and then some. But I am putting a recommendation to in front of the committee that we allocate a quarter of that position to this service. I think it's going to help. It's going to allow so many of these projects to get underway. Besides the ones that came out of the strategic plan, there's a lot of discussion about setting up customs and CanPass. We've got a lot of other initiatives that will continue to come up. So we're recommending 0.25, which the goal will be that we use that airport project coordinator position. It will split its time, and then we will provide other support from the administration pool to move forward on projects. I hope that is a fairly good overview, but there's a lot of information in there, and I'm happy to answer any questions. At the level that we're looking at the project coordinator level, it's sort of a technical support role, and the financial implications of a quarter of a time is about $22,000 within the budget. The other good news story for AVRA is that we received $180,000 from a grant application, and we really used that money to offset operations. So we didn't spend it on anything in particular. Instead, we managed to save a lot of money. So that's really given us a bit of this surplus that we keep rolling forward. And we, again, haven't spent on anything, mostly because there's not a lot of time to do any work. So I've looked at what the implications of adding a quarter time to the budget is, and really it wouldn't result in any major increases. So we have scheduled just a static tax increase. I think it's only 1% per year. And that was in the last year's financial plan. We would be looking to do the same. And we would have additional resources available. Yeah, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anybody have questions of Jenny? Jenny, what's your estimate of how much of that $180,000 remains? Most of the $180,000, or?
We've basically absorbed it into the budget. So now, like we did spend it on operational items, and it resulted in, a surplus that we've run forward and we put into the capital reserve. But we're able to basically, we don't need to increase the budget, and we can absorb the say 22,000 additional in operating for at least the 5-year term when I look at the 2023 to 2027 budget. So it's not as easy as saying it's like the surplus that we're running forward. We've literally absorbed it into the budget.
Okay, but we did have that strategic plan done by Mark Duncan and Andrew Cuthbert, and obviously the committee and the community participating and so on. And there were 5 great recommendations that came out of it. And the only way to really achieve, just my editorializing, but the only way to really achieve some of those recommendations is time. That's the thing. You need the people. So thank you for suggesting it. Not seeing any other questions. Is there somebody who wishes to make that motion? Cindy? Is there a seconder? Dan, you want to second that? Thank you. Anybody opposed? Then I declare the motion carried. And then the third request for a decision is that we relates to the storage building tender non-award, which to me, I'm interested in hearing what it actually means. What's a non-award?
I can speak to this one as well, Mr. Chair. So we're looking to build building storage equipment buildings for both at AVRA and at the Long Beach Airport. And we put out a tender. The Long Beach Airport project had grant funding associated with it. So we thought that we might get better pricing if we bundled them, which you do often when you're looking to construct things. But we did have a relatively short timeline because we needed to meet the grant timelines just for the Long Beach Airport. The bids came in way over what was expected. A lot of this, we're seeing this across the board, just so everyone's aware. Like we bid upgrades at the West Coast landfill, they were $1 million over costs. We are seeing it at Tofino with wastewater. We see it on every tender that we've been issuing. It happens to be this specific time in 2022, 2023, where the economy has excessive demand and we still have COVID delays and all of this stuff. But steel prices specifically are an issue for this project. We see it for concrete, for other stuff, but this one, it's steel. The pricing for this building in particular was over budget by 36%. And we could actually afford to do that. We have the money in the capital reserve. We would have to do a financial plan amendment. I don't recommend it. I think that we should wait and we should reissue the tender and have a much longer timeline and just give it 6 months. We are able to, so it's a little bit of just, there are things that we have to do when we're issuing tenders. So because we've issued a tender, we are obligated to award if it is within budget. This is not within budget, so we are not obligated to award. Therefore, what we do is we issue a non-award because it's over budget, and we let all the proponents know. It is a bit of a legal process. That's why we're asking for a resolution for non-award. And then once we do that non-award, we wait until steel prices, we know they've come back down, we reissue on its own without combination with another building, so it'll just be on its own, and we give a long timeline for construction window. And I think the pricing will come back down to what we expect, which will be an overall savings. The project is important, it is not urgent, and I think because we have that capacity, it just makes it more financially sound to wait and reissue later. If the committee agrees, we'll update our capital plan accordingly.
Okay, any questions for Jenny? No clarifications needed then. So is someone willing to make the motion as we have? Dan, thank you. Is there a seconder? Michael, thank you so much. Anybody opposed to the motion? Then I declare the motion carried. Thank you, everybody. A non-award. So we won't lose the money though, right? It'll still be there. It's just we just add to it in another year. Okay, thank you. Then that moves us on to reports. And Michael McGregor, OLS application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So part of my role here at the ACRD is to, be a liaison between the province and the ACRD for tenures and licenses and whatnot. And one of those is the OLS. I'm going to share my screen for a map, just if that's all right. Just to make it easier to talk about. Does everybody see the map of the AVRA airport there? Great. So I went down the OLS for the AVRA airport. Since the airport was constructed, it's been a bit of a topic of contention between the ACRD and the province, and so there's been lots of reports for 30 years about how the best way to manage the OLS is, and for everybody, OLS stands for Obstacle Limitation Surface. So essentially, the ACRD, we want to restrict the height of trees in that area so that it lowers our I don't know the technical term. Mark's probably better at that than I am. I'm not in airport management, but anyway, we want to cut trees in the OLS area to keep the surface low. So I'll give you a quick rundown of recent developments and applications and where we're at the moment, and how we hope to manage that in the future here. So 2018, we submitted a 30-year application to the province for a license of occupation for 150 hectares. And that's everything that's red here and the screen section as well. So that did not get approved from the province for a couple of different reasons, but I think one of the highlighted ones was the screen area had an overlapping tenure at the time. So at that point, we did a section 52, which is the province is able to direct internal provincial staff to remove trees. So the Thunderbird crew came in and removed 100 trees, and then we also submitted a 2-year temporary license under the provincial airport policy. So at the end of that 2-year temporary license, it expired, and we went to submit an extension of that, and the province said, there's no extension eligible for that, and they want us to submit another license of occupation for a longer term, because there's no longer an overlapping tenure in this green area here. So we we went through the process for that. We prepared that application. We spoke with First Nations, and we had a suggestion from that conversation that we move to a 15-year, just a bit of a shorter term, which that's fine with us. So this summer we worked together to submit that 15-year license of occupation, which is currently under review. And then I should also say that last spring, we tried to do another section 52 with the Thunderbird crew to remove some trees. And at that time, the province didn't support that because they wanted us to submit this application. So fast forward to now, our license of occupation for 15 years is under review. And we're going to try to work with the Thunderbird crew again to get in there to remove some trees while that's under review. We don't have an estimated timeline for when the longer application is going to be approved or complete the review. My hope is hopefully next winter is when everything will be done. So if we're hoping to get any trees down this winter to help with our OLS, then the section 52 is our option that we're trying to work towards. But at the moment, we haven't heard back from the province whether they're going to support it. And I'm happy to take any questions on that if you'd like.
Hey, it's Stephen. I got a couple questions with that. Just that obstacle removal area. So what's the biggest issue with the tree height right now? Is that limiting like the ability to create an approach that's lower in the future? Because like I know the one that has been published now, the RNAV, like it gets you down to like 1,600 feet. So that's not very low in operational, from an operational standpoint. Is that what the goal is, to try to get them low enough where there can be an approach coming down, or is that going to limit the approach that's actually in place now?
Mark has explained this to me a bit, but I think Mark might do a better job explaining it to everybody.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to catch up here on everything. So if these questions have been asked before, I do apologize.
Just through the chair, our current instrument approach procedure at Port Alberni meets no standard. So our approach surfaces are existing, and that's part of our obstacle limitation surface. But we have to clear those obstacle limitation surfaces before we can obtain a lower breakout. So right now we meet no standard, and we have the RNAV systems for arrivals, departures in place, but until we actually clear the obstacles on those surfaces, so the approach surfaces that Michael's been talking about since basically 2018, we won't be able to get lower approaches in to the site.
Okay, so that potentially, I mean, it's whether the province approves it or not, as far as you being able to do what you need to do.
Yeah, so for example, the west side of the airport, the part that's in Michael's spot in the green, that is substantially cleared under our previous cut permits. And we had assistance basically through Mosaic. Mosaic cleared basically a lot of land to the west of that Turtle Lake network. So we didn't have to do anything with that, but we cleared the lands on the airport or outside the airport boundary up to the lake shore. That was conducted in 2018 under our previous cut permit. The lands that are in question right now are to the east of the airport. So that big red section, as you drive in on Airport Road, you'll see in Christmas Tree Farm, you've also got a hillock, basically where the cursor is right now as well. Vegetation on those areas need to be addressed before we can meet a standard. And when I say to meet a standard, we will cut the trees down, we'll have it resurveyed to see if we do have obstacles still within that approach surface. And once we can actually confirm that is clear, then we can actually go back to our instrument approach designer and request lower limits to the site.
Have they ever given you an idea of what they think you could get down to, just like generally, or they're not going to have a clue until they actually come there? And
in a perfect world, with everything certified, we should be able to get down to around 800 feet.
Oh yeah, okay. So just kind of like Qualicum.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I worked for KDR then, and I just remember that was always an issue with, they actually had to, with the trees, but then it was in private land, so it was a whole different thing. But anyways, that definitely answers a few questions.
You'd think this would be easier, but we're hitting a couple roadblocks. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so like you guys said, you don't even know like what the province will allow. It could be definitely a couple years down the road, sort of thing.
I hope not. This has been ongoing for many years, and I hope to have this sorted hopefully by the fall. What we can do once we have those approaches established, right now we have our precision approach path indicators, our PAPIs are shut off just because we can't guide people into treetops. It'll basically enhance the airfield significantly once we're able to cut down or manage the tree heights on the approaches.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that definitely answers some questions I had in regards to that. So thank you.
Okay.
Cindy, question.
I do. Just, you need to make me understand, in 2017-18, as you were talking about, Mark, we were supposed to be cutting those trees down, I thought, and we haven't done that since then. I haven't been following the airport, so I'm just kind of curious to know what happened and how does that affect the lights and the radar and all that? Will money have to go into expansion, or how does that all work? Just to give me an update.
Yep, through the chair, I'll speak on that again. So 2017, 2018, we were able to cut down vegetation through permit on the west side of the airfield, but we also had issues on the east side that we could not get permitting for. So we have tried even as late as last spring through the Thunderbird crew to get that section 52 to cut down some of our higher trees. And we haven't been able to get permitting from Flinroe. Michael has been very good at describing his work with Flinroe. And if he was to go into detail on the amount of work he spent with that organization, we would be here for another half hour, 45 minutes. So the problem is not necessarily on our side of the house, it's on the government permitting side. And we have other land issues on the site. Maybe Michael would like to talk about that one. We're gonna get into the weeds if we start going in that direction, but at the moment, we are just waiting for cut permits on the east side of the airfield so we can open that up.
Okay, thank you. And what about the lights and radar? Will that affect, and do we need more, or is what we have there?
Going back to lights, we have an ARCOL lighting system, medium intensity LED lighting system on the airfield. That is fully functional. The only part of that lighting system that is not turned on at the moment are the PAPIs at either end of the airfield. So they're a device, a lighting device that will give you a glide path to the threshold of the runway. Because we don't have those cleared on the east end, those are not active at the moment, but the rest of the lighting system is good. As for radar, we don't have radar on site. We basically have an RNAV system for approaches and departures.
Okay, thank you.
And it is difficult, it does have it. Yeah, but it's not as common. And you have to
So yeah, I think I'd like to just add that, the ACRD is working with the province. We've done what the province has requested from us in order to facilitate, us getting a permit. I think that there's a clear direction that, we're hoping to work towards. At the moment, we're just in the queue, and, we have a plan in order to effectively manage this. At the moment, we just got to wait our turn, and hopefully everything can get sorted out once they're done their review.
Okay. Thanks. And Michael, sorry, I had my mic off. How many trees are we talking about that need to be removed approximately?
So, to the chair, I think that's another Mark question. Sorry.
From a stem count, we have OLS surveys on that site. They're now a couple of years old, but even though we only show about 60 targets, in actual fact, we probably have close to 1,000 stems. So it'll be a substantial clearing portion. The thing at that location, though, it's all second regen. It's all small in diameter. There won't be very much, if any, cost recovery on that.
Okay.
We do have the funds sitting in the account for that work as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any further questions? All right, then we move to the customs and CanPass verbal report from Mark Fortune, another initiative that we've been working on, particularly related to the economic possibilities for our airport, or improvement for our airport. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, through the chair, thank you very much. So customs application at the site, we conducted an initial application back in 2015 for customs. We met all of the requirements set out by Canada Border Service Agency for the site. We are within 100K of the regional office in Nanaimo. We already have service into the harbor. It took 2 years for us to get a rejection letter back from CBSA. Since that time, we have gone through COVID, and CBSA has been going through a contraction phase of their organization. We utilized Mark Duncan, who has developed our strategic plan. They were doing a customs application at the time at Boundary Bay. And we were told at that time through a very good contact that there was no way that there would be expanding service at all in the next sort of 5 to 7 years. That being said, I think there's still an opportunity to have customs on the site. And we have to approach it from a regional aspect. So if we do a standalone application for Port Alberni again, I think there's a very good chance that we will be rejected on that. What we can do is work with other jurisdictions to come up with a hybrid program. And you can go back onto Canada Border Service Agency's own website, and I would use Bedwell Harbor as a site that we could probably emulate within, but basically the Alberni Valley Airport, and also bring in Tofino, District of the Ucluelet, and also the airport at Tofino itself, Long Beach. If we bring those partners together in a cohesive application, basically tourism related, and also on a 6-month term, I think we would be very successful. We, on the West Coast, we get numerous requests in the summertime for customs clearance at the airport. The District of the Ucluelet has, over 2022, lost their customs clearance at the harbor because they were a customs clearing harbor. They still have commercial vessel, but they've lost all of the non-commercial clearance. And also Tofino has that same traffic. I believe if we have a cohesive application that includes all of these jurisdictions and submitted from the regional district as a whole, I think we would have a very strong chance in the application process. But that requires a lot more coordination than I'm able to put in at this site, but that could also be put onto the bailiwick of the new projects coordinator. Open to questions.
Penny, go ahead.
Thank you. Should we be working with the Port Authority on this?
Mark, what do you think?
Good question. You have clearance customs operations right now at the port, and they were unwilling to extend it to the Port Alberni Airport. We're still within that 100K zone, and we could try pressuring from the port. I know we've had rejection in the past. I think we'd have a much stronger footing if we could actually come at it from a regional perspective and bring a bunch of other user jurisdictions in. Because we're talking about a CAN pass system at Port Alberni. So it's not as if we'd have an inspector there all the time. It would be basically a call-in process, and it would be a site inspection if they chose to. So it's not like having an inspector all the time, and we could actually share that with the West Coast jurisdictions as well.
Okay, Penny, another question?
That kind of explained what I was thinking about. Years gone by, we were actually looking at becoming a tax-free zone. And that would also sort of tie in with customs, having someone available in our area to be able to sign all the papers and do the work to make us a tax-free zone where, but that's not what we're talking about. So thank you.
Yeah,
Mark,
so
go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, so the CAN pass we'd be looking for, basically that it would be for airport operations, but CAN pass would also be for private boat operations, say in Euclid Harbor, private aircraft coming into the Long Beach Airport Tofino site, and also boat traffic in and out of Tofino. And we'd try and tag the Port Alberni Airport into that and submit it as a regional application.
Sorry, I have another question. So where do people have to go now? Where do vessels or planes or whatever, they obviously then have to stop at another airport or port to be able to have entry to Canada. And I'm just wondering if the Vancouver Port Authority has, if we need to be lobbying them to get support so that they can expand to us.
Yep. So right now, that Bedwell Harbor that I was talking about, they clear, it's a port, it's an airport port of entry for float plane traffic. It's a CAN pass private boat entry. They have a Nexus Marine at that site as well. And that is a seasonal customs location on South Pender Island. So that it's taking basically traffic flow coming out of the United States, be it marine or air float plane traffic. We would be looking at basically the same thing, but on the west coast of the island and into the Port Alberni Valley with the AVRA airport. So you'd have all those options. Right now, for air traffic coming into the CAS or the Tofino site, they have to clear customs either at Nanaimo, Victoria, or Vancouver. Those are the three sort of options that we end up giving people. And honestly, in the summertime, I'll probably get 7 to 10 calls a week regarding customs clearance coming into our site. So it would be highly utilized here. And I think with that staffing model, they would probably have to have 2 members available. We could easily look after Port Alberni at the same time. And I think the power that you have by joining forces with the jurisdictions on the West Coast, you have a known tourism quantity on the West Coast, which is a revenue generator. It's something they can't not look at. I have some internal intel. The customs dock in Euclid, for example, is 52 steps. That for marine work for Canada Border Service Agency. That dock was due for decommissioning, like removal. And Canada Border Service Agency has stopped that decommission and they're retaining that dock. So it's an indication to me that there is still a need or want for service agents on the West Coast. And I think we can basically, by using other jurisdictions, come up with a very convincing application for CDSA.
Thanks, Mark. Wilfred, you had a question?
I do, thank you. So you took us that would be interested in participating with this. So at what level is this work going to be done? Is it going to be done here at this committee level, or is there going to be a working group or committee struck to work forward for this application? And yeah, no, we would definitely be interested in participating.
Mark, response?
I'm gonna pass this on to Jenny because this leads into something you've already approved.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So I think our next steps on this, Mark and I chatted about this, is really there's quite a bit of work required. So Mark has a lot of information in his head, which is valuable, but we need to really put together a report that we will bring back to this committee and potentially the West Coast Committee as well, and of course the board, to really look at, okay, what are all the options based on the research and different models. Mark's outlined some really good ones that are great potentials, but we want to really talk about what are the different options, what are the potential costs and next steps, and that would be the next thing that we would bring back to the committees to review and get some direction on proceeding. So without resources, we couldn't do this, but because there's approval for resources, that is going to go on to our work plan. So we will get started on that and hopefully have something together this year on what is the options, and we can make a decision to move forward for implementation. I hope that helps.
Excellent. Thank you so very much.
So I take it part of this would be a business plan that would be proposed. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering if this would then allow us to attract an air freight distribution company to come to AVR by having this.
Mark, go ahead.
Yep, through the chair. It does open up a lot of windows. We do see a lot of air traffic travel from south of the border on the West Coast, and that has been picking up at Port Alberni as well. We have a lot more basically private commercial jets coming in, servicing some of the properties within the valley. But this having a CAN pass system in place would definitely improve the viability of the airport long run.
If we're going to spend $800, we want to know definitively.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, if we spend $800.
Seeing no more questions, we need a motion to receive the verbal reports, please. Penny, seconder, Cindy, thank you so much. Anybody opposed? No, I declare the motion carried. There is no late business, but we are live streamed. Are there any questions from anybody? Cindy.
Is it possible to get a copy of the stats of what's been happening at the airport for who's flying in, not who is flying in, but the usage of flying in, just because people have asked about it? So do we have any that could be sent out?
Mark?
Through the chair, we don't keep records for AVRA at the moment. We can, we don't have any NAV Canada services. That's where we obtain our records through the Tofino site. It's through NAV Canada NCAMs. We don't have that option available to us at AVRA, but what we can try and set up is something through our caretaker, and we won't have, it'll give us a better understanding of traffic flow, but it won't be exact because it'll be depending on his availability to monitor aircraft arrivals and departures. We can probably set that up for 2023.
That would be wonderful, Mr. Chair. And the reason why is because there's a lot of people in our community in the Alberni Valley, they don't realize how much the airport is being used. And just to show that there is value in having a regional airport. And it would be a great thing to have. Even if it's an estimate, it would be great. Thank you.
Michael?
Just wondering if you had the ability to at least track corporate traffic, private jet traffic, because there's nobody coming in that kind of equipment that is an ADS-B equipped, so you might be able to track it through that.
Okay, Mark?
Through the chair again. Yeah, we don't have that capability, but we do have a very conscientious caretaker group at the airport, and I'll set up a spreadsheet for them and we can start tracking that operational movements.
Okay, thank you. All right, then no questions from the public. Then this brings us to the point in the meeting where we move in camera. I need a motion to close the meeting as per the community charter. Please, so we can move into that portion. Cindy, seconder. Penny, thank you. Okay, I think everybody has a copy of the in-camera